Welcome to this financial claims webinar. This is a part of a series of tutorials looking at the financial claims process and evidence requirements for the ATI programme. This tutorial will be looking at processing and evidencing staff costs. There are two main ways of processing staff costs on ATI. Your staff member is either hourly rate or actual cost. Hourly rate means that they will be paid for their work as they do it on the project, and actual cost means that their full role is funded by the project. I will go through the evidence requirements for both kind of roles and also any other different staff costs. I've provided a flowchart for you here to show how we process these staff costs. The most simple of which is, do they work part of their time on ATI, then the hourly rate? Do they work all of their time on ATI, then the actual cost? A slightly more complicated way to go is if your staff member is on multiple contracts. It doesn't matter if they work variable or fixed hours on ATI. The next question to ask is, do they work solely across different BBO specific contracts? If this is the case, they should be treated as an actual cost staff member, providing a timesheet from which we can apportion their time and costs. If they work over other contracts as well, we need to calculate an hourly rate for them. This should be based off their annual salary. However, if they're contract based and do not have an annual salary, we would use pay information from the contract on which ATI work is performed. Freelance consultants can also be claimed on ATI. You must supply the contract detailing rate per hour, and it will be processed as a staff cost, freelance and sessional, without the 15% indirect cost or reimbursement for pension and NI. You can also work on a 0 hours contract on ATI. You must supply the contract detailing rate per hour. We will process them as rate times hours worked with no reimbursement for NI or pension contributions. They do, however, get the 15% indirect cost. You can also be employed as an agency worker on ATI. This is if A, there is a contract between the staff member and an employment agency, B, the staff member is supplied to the employer by the agency, C, whilst work undertaken, staff member is controlled by the organisation, and D, the staff member isn't self-employed. If all of the above is true, they can be processed as a staff cost, direct and external, with the 15%, but reimbursed at rate provided by the agency. Actual cost staff members require a letter, contract and job description. The letter must state that they are fully funded by ATI and must have the start date within the body of the letter. The job description must also state that the role is fully funded by ATI. We'll also require payslip and HMRC and pension evidence. The way to calculate an actual cost staff member cost is to take their monthly gross salary, add their employer's NI contribution and their employer's pension contribution. You can also add any additional monthly bonus payments that have been specified within the contract. However, we must have that within the contract supplied. Hourly rate staff members are a little bit more complicated. We still need the letter and job description. However, these must state that they are part funded by the project, and the job description must say what responsibilities they have to ESF. We do need a fixed hourly rate for these staff members. In order to get one of these, we must have confirmation of annual salary, confirmation of the annual employer's pension contribution rate. We must know what their contracted weekly hours are and if your organisation claims the employer's allowance. If you think you need a new hourly rate calculation based on a new staff member starting, a pay increase or a contract change, please get in touch with your programme coordinator and we can provide you with a checklist to make sure you give us all the evidence required. We'll also need a timesheet supplied for every single hourly rate staff member. Here is an example of a well filled out timesheet with the employee name, job title, payroll number and the month, and also how many contracted hours they work per week. This is reflected in where they have recorded their time. You can see that it's split into ATI tasks, non-ATI tasks and non-operational tasks. ATI tasks must have clear, concise descriptions. Non-ATI tasks do not have to have any descriptions whatsoever. They must also be signed with a printed name by the employee and by an authorising person. We will also need to have payslip and HMRC and pension evidence. The way we work out a cost for an hourly rate staff member is the agreed hourly rate times the hours worked from the timesheet. 0-hour staff members are also quite similar. We need the letter and job description. We also need the contract to detail what rate we should be reimbursing you at. They also need to supply a timesheet, payslip, HMRC and pension evidence. And as stated before, we work out their costs by using their stated hourly rate times the hours worked from the timesheet. Consultants and freelance staff are slightly different in that we do require an explanation as to why you have taken a professional on instead of use someone from your staff. We also need copies of their indemnity insurance, UTR and NI numbers. We'll also need a copy of their contract. These only need to be supplied once over the life of the project unless there are any significant changes. We will also need an invoice and defrayal every month, and we will reimburse as for ATI specific work. Agency staff are a little bit different again. We still need the letter and job description, but we also need a copy of the contract between the organisation and agency so that we can see that work performed is to the contract. We need a timesheet, an invoice and defrayal every month, and we will reimburse as per the invoice. This completes the tutorial for evidencing staff costs. If you would like further clarification on any of these topics, please contact us at your consortium. Thank you for watching.